Hi, good evening. You join me once again in the garage. I'm carrying on with a step project for the Defender. Tonight what I want to do is get the metalwork prepared to accept these puddle lights. They actually call them eagle eye lights online. Let's see if we can get that a better image of it. Eagle eye LEDs, 3 LEDs in there. They claim to be about 3 watts. I haven't measured the current. They may be or they may not be 3 watts, but they're bright. I certainly can tell you they're bright. But what I want to do, if we look on here, let me get a little pointer. You've got 2 rings going on. I want to remove this lower ring. I'm going to machine that off and just leave the top portion of the LED there. The reason for that, the step is made up of rectangular tube or rectangular stock, 3mm wall aluminium, 100mm by 50mm. Top and bottom is going to be plated with 3mm checker plate, so you can imagine there's going to be a piece here as well. And the LED is going to fit through this into the lower box section. Now that's all very well. Move that out the way. I've drilled a couple of trial holes here, but what you have, it's sitting proud. The LED is proud of the base, and I don't want that. So the plan is to remove the lower ring of the LED so it'll sit flush onto this plate. I've also there's nothing I can do with the placement of the LEDs to avoid the raised rib section of the checker plate. You know, pot luck, maybe I'm going to happen to land in the middle, but I'm going to put 3 on each step, so I will hit the rib section at some point. So I've come up with a method of removing this section, the raised section, under the LED quite well, so we'll go through that now. But currently what I'm doing is making a little jig in the lathe to hold these to allow me to remove that bottom rib. So we'll go over to the lathe and you can see what I'm going on about. Right, we're over at the lathe now. You can see in the chuck I've got another one of these, piece of scrap metal. Granted, scrap to some people, to me it's invaluable. Now what I've done so far, one end of it I've just drilled out 13mm to give me clearance up to about this point. And now I'm currently drilling a hole in the end about 9mm, 9mm diameter, so I can tap that hole out to 10mm by 1mm pitch to allow me to screw the LED into here, clamp it in without damaging the thread or the LED. Then I can machine that lower flat off that I showed you, the lower ring if you like, so it'll sit quite nicely on the aluminium. So where did I get to? I think I got just got to whack in the 9mm drill through there, and we're done. So let me have a look. That's 9mm. Let me take a jiffy to whack this in. So fire that up and away we go. Right, that's through. It's only aluminium, but I find it very easy to work with aluminium because how soft it is. You could do this out of steel, but there's not a lot of point. Not for this. It's literally a jig to machine those LEDs down with. So yeah, this end you got 13mm clearance up to about this depth coming in from the bottom, 9mm on the top. So all I need to do now is tap that out to 10mm and the LED should fit in there snugly. That can then go back into the lathe and we can take off that lower ring. So we'll go back over to the bench, tap this out, bring it back to the lathe, and away we go. Okay, we're over at the vise now. I've just started that off. This is 10mm tap by 1mm pitch. Little drop of oil on there. Yeah, here we go. That's all it is. I'll do about 3/4 of a turn it back to break off the swarf. I'm not entirely sure how good the quality of these taps are. They're not very sharp. It's just going to push its way through rather than doing a nice cut. It doesn't feel the crispest of taps I've ever used, but I haven't got to do hundreds of holes. I've got to make this one fixture for the LEDs and drill 6 holes in 3mm aluminium box, so it's not as if I'm building a spaceship with it. So hopefully this will be good enough for what I got to do here. We'll see in a minute if the LEDs fit in. I did get 2 taps with it. One's a bottoming tap and one's an intermediate. I'm using the intermediate to start with. I'd like to taper one, but didn't get that. But then I only paid a £5, so you kind of get what you pay for. If I want to pay £20 out for one tap, then I'm sure I'd be singing the praises. But right, okay, that is doing a reasonable job. I've got to go all the way through. There's about 30mm depth I've got to do just to the top flat of the scrap metal there. So yeah, bear with me. Right, we're through now. Let's just whip that out. A lot of these tools are just basic ones anybody can have over a period of time. All I've done is buy the tools as I need them. I'm gone out with a great big shopping list. I've bought half decent tools when I needed them, kept them, looked after them, and over the years you end up building quite a selection. If you're just going to fire an airline on here. Oh, and this. Right you are. Let's see if we can get the LED to thread into that. And if we can, we're on to a winner. Yep, that's fine. And what I intend to do, there's a nut that's come with these, a locking nut. Now we won't actually be using that in this for the step, but I will put it on here when I'm machining it just to stop it spinning. But I'll go over again. It's this lower ring I want to machine off. So we'll take this and the fixture over to the lathe, and you can see me just taking that down to 14mm diameter. That's what I want to do. That the lower ring 14mm, top one's 18mm. So this one will sit nicely on the top step, metalwork. This one will sit through the 3mm top, and this will thread into the base. So it'll all be clear when we put it together. But yeah, over to the lathe. Just before I disappear over to the lathe, that's what it's going to be like in the lathe. You've got the little jig I've made, LEDs in the end, lock nut on there to stop it moving around. Handily, there's got a bit of a nose going on here, so I should have easy access for the cutter on the lathe itself. The tool will be able to get right into where I need to without having an obstruction. Imagine if this was right up here, then this is overlapping, more difficult to get to, but yeah, the cutting tool will get right in there quite easily. So we're set up on the lathe and see how we go. Okay, we're all set up in the lathe. Let's see if we can just get in a bit closer on there. This is the ring I want to take out. This lower one. This top one is remaining. That's going to be visible in the step. So we'll zoom out a little bit, and the plan is we'll bring that out, take that down to 14mm. So right, okay, let's fire it up, see what happens. we're 18 at the start. We've got to go down 4mm, so we've got a little way to go. The lathe ain't that clever, we can't take too much off at a time, particularly what we're doing here is a bit precarious anyhow, but we'll keep going. It looks like it's doing what I need it to do. Okay, we'll stop and have a little measure, see what we got. Right, let's see what we got. Well, I think that's close enough. I'll get that out, do the other 5, and job's a good one. So yeah, down to 14mm. That'll fit quite nicely in the top part of the step. I only need to thread the bottom box section. Yeah, we're done. So on with another 5, and I'll come back to you. Alright, there we go. There's the 6 LEDs all machined down to 14mm at the collar. There's going to be 3 each side on the step. What I need to do now is drill the top section of the step out to 14mm. That's where the lamp is going to fit through. And underneath this section is the box section, which I'm going to drill out to 10mm. I'm going to drill and tap it to 10mm, so these lamps will screw into the base. We've got a problem with these ribs where it's raised by about 2mm, where it's going to prevent these lamps sitting flat. But I've got a cunning plan how to do that. So yeah, we'll move on to that section now. Okie dokie, we're over at the pillar drill now. What I was explaining earlier, where the ribs are on this aluminium checker plate is raised. Now with the LED, the eagle eye LED, I believe they call it, we just thread one through there quickly. Even with the piece I've machined off, when it's actually fitted to the checker plate, it sits proud. Not sure if we're getting a good view of that. Yeah, there. It won't sit flush with the checker plate. So all I need to do is remove those ribs on the checker plate itself. Now, what I'm using is a hole saw, but I'm not going to cut through the metal. I'm just purely using that to shave off the ribs, the high spots. I've used a piece of scrap alley just to check it, and yeah, it works fine. So what I've got on the pillar drill now set up is a 19mm hole saw, which I'm just going to go through the pilot hole with and take this rib off and any ribs within the radius of the 19mm hole. So fire up the pillar drill and see how I get on. Okay, you can see we've just touched down on the deck there. That won't matter about that because we're actually covering that up with the LED. But the deep rib, we've chopped that out. So I'm going to swap over the 19mm hole saw. I'm going to go down to 18 and 17 because the ribs protrude closer to the centre here. So we'll get rid of that, and there's a piece here we can remove. Then this hole ultimately is going to be drilled out to 14mm, so it's only about 3 or 4mm from the edge that I need to remove. So I'll progressively go down on the sizes of the hole saws, and I'll show you the result before we drill out the 14mm hole. Right, I've gone from 19 to 18 to 17mm on the hole saw. I'm going all the way through, like I said. We have just touched down here. This will be covered by the outside of the LED that I'm going to fit. But the important thing is here, this area where the raised section was, is gone. So by the time I've cut out the middle here with the 14mm step drill, which we'll do now, any raised section that would have held the LED up in the air has been removed. So the LED will sit flush to this surface here. So yeah, we'll fire up the step drill, go down to 14mm, and pretty much that area to the centre is going to be removed. We'll probably see a little bit of this, but that won't hurt. It's going to be covered up, like I say. So yeah, over to the 14mm step drill, and yes, a bit more hole drilling. That's the step drill now in place. I've marked it. That's 16mm where the black mark is, so I only need to go to here, which is 14mm. I've also positioned the table so when I go through, I'll go through the hole in the middle of the table and not through the table, which is never a good thing. So right, here we go. We can clean that up in a second. We'll try now just pop an LED through, see if we need to do any fettling. But the biggest cuts have been done. We may just need to clean the hole up. We may not. Right, that's what I'm looking for. Let's get that in shot. I don't know if that's, yeah, they just, is it going to focus? Yeah, that's sitting flush. It's missing the ribs. So, yeah, I've achieved what I wanted to do. That's sitting flush with the base metal. Not sticking up in the air. So I'll go do the other two on this step, the other three on the other side. Then I'll tap the tubular section. I keep calling it a tube. It's a rectangular box section with a 10mm to accept this thread. It should just be a matter of screwing it in and away we go. So yeah, excuse the focus. It's not too sure what it wants to look at. But yeah, another 5 holes to go, and we'll go back to the main step and tap that out. There's the top of the step bolted back onto the box section. I've drilled 3 of the holes out that's going to accept the LEDs. I've only gone to 6mm at the moment. Just wanted to check we're in the centre, and to be honest, it looks pretty good. So they're all pretty central. So what I'll do now, I'll take it to the 9mm with it, just with a hand drill. I could put on the pillar drill, but I think for this it will be fine. I'll go to the 9 and I'll come back when I'm tapping them out. The one on the left here I've tapped out, 10mm thread, that's fine. It does screw in. What I am finding, the cable's getting screwed up a little bit inside the tubing. So I don't want to dummy fit it, take it out, then have to refit it after it's painted, because I may bodge up the cable. So for now I'm going to tap the other 2 holes and leave it at that. When I do fit these for real, it might be that I'm not going to be happy with the cable twisted up too much, so I may simply drill this, after all this, drill the 10mm tapped hole out to maybe 10.5mm to drill a thread out, just to fit the lamp in, and rely on some adhesive to hold it in place. That way I haven't got to curl up the cable. But we'll see when I come back after I've repainted it, or painted it. I'll see how I feel about the cable. If I hold the step up vertically and have the cable dangling down inside, I can untwist it as I'm turning this in, so it may work out. But for now I'm not going to dummy fit and take them out and refit. I'm going to tap this hole. I really do think the taps that I've got aren't very good, because I'm having a bit of a job starting them. But it is putting a thread in. As I said before, it's not for a spaceship, it's for a couple of lamps that's got to go in a aluminium step. So the thread I'm actually producing will be good enough should I choose to use it. So, but ultimately I may end up just simply drilling it out to 10.5 or 11mm and slopping the LEDs in with a spot of adhesive, probably just some clear silicone. That'll keep the water out and the LEDs in. So I may be overcomplicating things, but this is how I think it should be done. And well, yeah, it works. The problem I've got, the cables have got to go right from where the LEDs are to the other end of the tubing, which is, well, this one's going to be 2 feet away, but nevertheless it will work. I'll make it work. It'll work one way or the other, but I'll be happy with the job when it's done, and that's the main thing. So I'll carry on with this tap, the thread. I'll do the other step, and well, that's the end of the Puddle light saga for now anyhow. And we'll go on to part 5 of the step project after this is done. That's probably going to be the control electronics all together and back in the truck, and I'll show you the steps going up and down pre-paint. So that'll be the next one. That's a few weeks away though, I think. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Then you'll keep up to date with all the other projects that are coming along your way.